Album review. Mac Miller is a beloved rapper, singer, songwriter, and producer that many of us hold dear to our hearts. Mac unfortunately passed away due to an accidental overdose at 11:51 a.m. on September 7th, 2018. 35 days after he had released his fifth studio album, Swimming. As Swimming was released, Circles was already almost halfway done, as it was meant to be a companion album. After his sudden death, producer Jon Brion went back and added live percussion, strings, and with the help of Mac's family, he finished Circles. I'm going to take you through each of Circles' 12 songs and give my input and what I think of them. This album is very close to me, as is my second favorite album of all time. Let's talk about the album that made all of us cry. With the first track, Circles. This track begins with a really somber and a peaceful sound that really just pulls at your heart. Then, after being dead for almost 2 years, you hear Mac again. His voice honestly just tears you up when you hear it. The lyrics in this song, and honestly the entire album, really give you an insight on how Mac was feeling and where his mind was when he was making it, which is even more sad than the album can be. This really does explain a lot of problems people had with Swimming, namely people like Anthony Fantano, which iconically gave Swimming a 3 when it first came out. But after Circles came out, he went back and gave Swimming an 8, which is also the same rating he gave Circles. This song is a great opener and really gives you an insight on where Mac's head was when he was making it and before he died. Thank you, Jon, for this. And after that, we get Complicated. Complicated opens with this chill, cool, and amazing sound, and it really mixes well with Mac's voice. These lyrics somehow manage to be even more sad than the first track, Circles, and we're not even close to how sad these lyrics can get. As someone who has never listened to any of the other Mac Miller projects and only knew him as a good person and a respectable artist, this song makes me miss him. And I can't even imagine how people who have been following him since like Faces or Good AM or projects before that would feel. Now, when it comes to posthumous albums, they really do not get a great reputation. With artists like XXX and Juice WRLD, being dead can often improve popularity, which means the record labels will scavenge your computers and your hard drives and put together an half-assed album just to make money. Now, some can be good, but most of them are just lazy and incohesive and just feel like cash grabs. Especially when they're about artists who are really good and who died really young, like XXX or Juice WRLD. I am very glad that Mac's posthumous album is very clearly genuine and was not made for money in the slightest. It was just made so that way his discography could end in a satisfying way. Overall, Complicated is an amazing song with a cool sound and sad lyrics, but it gets better with Blue World. The song begins with a sample from an American vocal quartet called the Four Freshmen. I'm not sure if this sample was chosen before or after Mac's death, but either way, it's really sad. Either Mac was in a mindset where he knew he wasn't going to last so much longer, or the sample is how we all feel without him. Besides the sample, the beat and the sound overall really mix well with Mac's amazing voice. His flow on this song is amazing and really just allows you to follow it perfectly with these really sad, amazing lyrics. And despite being quite tonally different, it keeps the same energy of Complicated with the lyrics. Blue World was one of the 3 samples for Circles, which was a great choice because I think this is one of the better songs off the album. Overall, great song, but what comes next blows it out of the water. When it comes to sad songs, people usually think of songs like Hallelujah, which I really don't think is sad at all. But for a guy who's really into rap and hip hop, I usually think of songs like You by Kendrick Lamar. You is one of the most emotional songs and it can very easily make you cry. But I honestly think that Good News is maybe even more sad. This is the song that most people cry to off the album. On my first listen, it was a different song that made me cry. But on my second and third, Good News made me cry first. Did you notice I said first? This album makes me cry at several different points. You get emotional while listening to this album, it's just impossible not to. John must be amazing because everything he did was perfect. The percussion, the plucky strings, it all just comes together perfectly. In my opinion, I think it's most likely the best song off the album. There are some that are close, but I think it just takes the cake. Following possibly the most emotional song off the album comes this uplifting electronic sound that mellows really well with Mac's expressive voice. The sound of the song overall is very interesting and provides a very cool tonal shift from Good News. All the while it still keeps the same essence of Good News with Mac's lyrics and voice. This song isn't one I usually think about when I start Circles again, but I still really enjoy it. Circles to me is kind of like Igor by Tyler the Creator, which is my favorite album. You probably couldn't guess if you look at my videos. All the songs off Igor fit tonally perfectly together. Some are amazing while some are still really good, and Circles is very similar. Overall, it's a great song. I can sometimes forget it, but I'm always happy when it comes on. Everybody's gotta lose. The song just starts with Mac's emotional singing that just sends you. Then the layered vocals come in along with the drum beat and you just fly even further. Possibly my favorite drum beat off the album. Even though it's so simple, it's just so fitting. Everything just mixes so well with Mac and honestly makes it a personal favorite of mine off the album. The lyrics are also just really sad. It kind of feels like Mac knew he was going to pass, which really kind of explains his state of mind at the time. This song always amazes me every time I hear it. Except for the saying at the beginning, I usually just forget it exists, which sucks because it's really good. So whenever I listen to Circles again, it just catches me off guard and sends me flying. Personal favorite of mine, a great listen. Starting off, we get a cool drum beat that mixes with Mac's somber voice and lyrics and just makes me feel sad. This song, along with the rest of the songs off Circles, really just makes you miss Mac, even if it's your first time listening to him. Even though I had never listened to Mac Miller, I still knew of his reputation. I still respected him, and I never really connected the dots in my brain that he was gone. I obviously knew that he was dead because I see people who miss him and he hasn't made an album soon and all that, but it never really just clicked for me until I listened to the album, and that's when I realized this guy was no longer with us. The feeling of dread when you're listening to this, when you realize that this guy is no longer with us, just hits you so hard and it makes you so emotional. The man who made this is no longer here. He doesn't exist. This was his last work, which I hope it is his last work, but I'll talk about that later. He wasn't here to see the final album in his discography, which is heartbreaking. Rest in peace, Mac. We miss you. This was the song that made me cry my first listen. Honestly, it was just too good not to. This is one of the 3 singles for Circles. Those were Blue World, Good News, and this one, Hand Me Downs. And honestly, these 3 are all contenders for top 3 on the album, which honestly I think you can make a case for almost all the songs, like Igor. Mac's voice on this is honestly just perfect, and that goes with the feature, who I don't know, but I know his name, and it's Barrow. Barrow, if that's how you pronounce it, comes in after Mac's rap with this amazing voice, and when I heard this, that was what made me cry. Now, I'm not sure if Barrow's feature was made before or after Mac's death, but either way, it's still amazing and fits perfectly. This song is currently my favorite as I'm recording, but I have a feeling that'll change very quickly because every time I listen to Circles, I start to notice more things, and as I'm writing it, I get further and further into how I feel about each song. So as it's currently my favorite song, that's gonna change really quickly. Overall, amazing song. That's On Me is another personal favorite of mine. It just gives you a vibe that I can never describe. It's dreadful, peaceful, and overall just ascending. I don't know how to describe it. The song is so unique, same with the lyrics. The lyrics perfectly describe how Mac was feeling and where his head was at while he was writing it. Even though the song is a personal favorite of mine, it's really hard to talk about given it's almost impossible to describe the sound I'm listening to. The song's just personal, and whatever you feel about it, that's how you feel. You can't describe it. It's impossible. Even if I did try to describe it or explain it, I think I'd just be doing a disservice to it. So out of respect to the song, I'm just going to move on. Starting off with an instrumental that is off-putting at first, but as soon as the beat comes in and Mac comes in, it pulls you in immediately. We also get Mac rapping after Mac sings, which is a rare occurrence on this album, to be honest. While Mac is mostly known for rapping, I believe as he got further into his career, he mostly switched to singing. I might not be correct on that, but rapping on this album is kind of a rare occurrence, so it's really nice to hear it. Mac's rapping on this is honestly just amazing. It really just hits you in the face, especially with his lyrics. His lyrics are amazing. They perfectly describe his feeling. They just give you this feeling of sadness and dread and everything in between. It's perfect. The lyrics are honestly just kind of creative and depressing, which is, in my opinion, probably the best way you can describe this album as a whole. Creative and depressing. The reason I forget some of these songs a lot is because I'm still kind of new to Circles. I've only listened to it about 3 or 4 times, which compared to other albums like Igor, which I probably listened to over 20 times, I'm not completely used to it and I don't have each song memorized, but I will because this song is honestly really good. This one starts really simple. It may take a few listens to get used to, but it's really good. The strumming on what seems to be a guitar, it may be ukulele, is honestly just heavenly. That combined with Mac's somber voice and his amazing lyrics just makes me emotional every single time I hear it. Then the drums come in and it's too much for me. The way I make these videos now is that I write a script for every single song on the album and the album as a whole. And while I make the script, I listen to the song. So while I was writing this, I was listening to Surf, and at first I thought it wasn't going to be that great because that was my opinion on it. But then I just sat there and listened to it, and it just started making me emotional, and I started to cry. Which, it sounds weird to say as a dude who wants to be manly. You can hear from my voice. I try to be strong, but that's not the point. I usually don't cry much, but this album really is the exception, especially this song. This song is going to make me cry in the future every time I listen to it, because honestly, it's just perfect. Honestly, this song is maybe the song that makes me miss Mac the most. Even though I thought the song was going to be the weakest or one of the weakest songs off the album, as I was listening to it, I realized that it's honestly maybe the best, and it's now my personal favorite. This song is something I'm always going to come back to, especially when I'm trying to remember Mac. The parts that send me the most on this song are really just when Mac sings high, and it just defeats me. I really miss Mac.
Once a day I rise.
And that's it. That's the final song you'll hear from Mac. Now, before I said that we hopefully won't get another album, don't take that the wrong way. I would love for another album like Circles come out, but I don't think that's possible. Circles was already almost fully developed, like it was pretty close to being done, or at least so I've heard. And then Mac died. Now, if we were to just scavenge his computers and find his beats and maybe some vocals and just make something up, that would be maybe the worst thing to do ever. That would be a disgrace to Mac, and we should never do that. Artists like Juice WRLD and XXX already are getting disgraced enough with their posthumous albums. Please don't do it to Mac. We don't need it. What made Circles so special is that you couldn't tell it was a posthumous album at all. It felt genuine from start to finish, even with this end. Now, when I say that, don't take it as if I think the song is bad. I don't. I think it's actually pretty good for what it is. It's very simple, but that's okay. It's mostly just Mac rapping. Not even rapping, just kind of singing, talking about stuff that's going on. The lyrics are honestly maybe some of the saddest now that I think about it, and really just kind of say a state of mind. You know, I was thinking about like trying to get me crying for the camera, because apparently that can work, but it doesn't feel genuine, because I can only cry when listening to this album. It just puts you in a different state of mind than you will ever be, and that's something I can say about no album. I love Igor to death, and it hasn't made me cry. It's made me tear up, it's made me emotional, but it hasn't made me cry like Circles. Even though I like Igor more, Circles is really emotional for me. Let's actually talk about the last song on this album, which is Once a Day. The song is good, the lyrics are amazing, and the beat's good overall. When I had first listened to Circles and I got to the end and listened to this song, I actually just said, that's it. That isn't supposed to be discouraging. That was just how I felt about how the album ended. I thought it should end bigger. But that's just kind of how Mac's life ended. His life just ended out of nowhere. After he made Swimming, it just stopped. Just like this song. It feels abrupt, it feels undeserved, doesn't feel fair. And that might be the point. There's a deluxe his album, but I won't be talking about it because I usually only talk about the first albums. I made an exception with Call Me Get Lost because I think that's more than a deluxe album. I'm actually at a loss of words for how I can describe this album. It doesn't seem fair to even try and plot out a way to talk about it. I would love to get a vinyl of this album and then frame it just like I have Igor back there. That's my goal. Because this album is only second to Igor, which I already talked about. Even though that video isn't great, it's now my second most viewed video. We'll talk about that after this, but overall, Circles is just perfect. It's my second favorite album of all time. And just like Once a Day, and just like, unfortunately, Mac's life, this video ends out of nowhere. Goodbye, Mac. Rest in peace. Hopefully the view is good from heaven. Honestly, I just wanted to sit back a little bit and just talk about how the channel's been going recently. As I'm recording, the Wolf video has taken over Igor as the most viewed video on my channel, and the comments I've gotten are amazing. I really appreciate all of them. And the watch time on the Wolf video is amazing. It has more watch time than all of my videos combined, which is absurd and really just kind of like makes me feel good about what I did with it and how much effort I put into it. This video won't be as long, and I won't really put much editing into this last part because this is the one where people are going to skip the most, which I'm okay with. So I just want to say thank you. I'm going to announce in my next video, I'm going to be talking about The College Dropout next week, or at least I'm going to try to. That's when the album turns 20, so people are going to be talking about it a lot, so I'm just going to go ahead and get on that. Then once I'm done with that, I'll be going to late registration, then graduation. So I'm going to do 3 in a row. I might talk about more Kanye after it. I might not. I'm not sure. I want to talk about Heroes and Villains by Metro Boomin because I want a vinyl of that. If I do buy it, I will get it, and I'll make the video about it. And other ones are like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I won't try and go by Kanye release order. I'll just go by the ones I like the most. Some other albums I like to talk about is maybe The Melodic Blue, Damn, maybe Good Kid, Mad City. I wouldn't expect the last one. I'm not gonna talk about Good Kid because there's no way I can do it better than some other people. But otherwise, I just want to thank you all. The response is amazing. We have like 64, 62 subscribers right now, which is way more than I thought, given I started this channel like maybe 3 or 2 weeks ago. And my first video was nothing like this. It wasn't about music at all. If you're one of the 19 people who saw my video before I privated it, I doubt the watch time. I haven't checked the watch time of that. I don't even think I can. I doubt anyone actually watched it. I think they just clicked on it and they clicked off because it wasn't edited at all. It was just me talking for like 17 minutes about a random topic. That was actually my inspiration for the channel in the first place. I wanted to talk because I love talking to people, my friends, about just topics and just thinking. I'm gonna look at OBS right now because that's just a bit easier because it keeps pausing. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know. I need to buy a webcam because it makes it so much easier, but I'm using my phone right now. If you don't know, I'm just connecting my phone to OBS. But I'm getting off topic, so where was I? I'll cut here. My first inspiration for the channel was to talk about random topics. I actually had a list. So my first one was, do video games or music cause violence? Now I was going to talk about some school things, some religion things, some people things, some teenager things. Basically just a lot of things like that, because I thought it would be fun to just sit down, talk for like 15 minutes, and just upload it. But then I made the E-word video and it got so many views. I was surprised when I got 62 views, and now it's at like 940, which I don't get because I think that video is not good. Now that I've made more, I've realized how bad it is. Now I've also bought a mic, so you won't be able to see it in frame, but it's a Razer Siren Mini. It's alright for what it does. It's pretty cheap. But I should probably go ahead and end this video, and I'll probably get to work on editing it. So thank you everyone for what's been going on, and I hope your day is good. So goodbye.